Okay, so good morning. Today's our session number 5, and the topics that we will be start learning from today and onwards are more related to business process automation. So before we go into the details, just to give some preview about why this is basically the heart and soul of Salesforce, as we learned. So whatever we have done so far, it's more like prerequisites, and it's more like a building up to a point where you can actually enter into the real deal, which is automation. So Salesforce, as you know, is one of the CRM system, and as we discussed so far, we should have established an idea that CRM system is something where you can store your customer information. You can able to retrieve that quickly. It's like a centralized repository. Number of people from different departments can able to access that. They can get like an appropriate level of security and all that good stuff. Now the main thing is, okay, this is all good, we can able to access the data, we can able to retrieve the data, it's a central repository, but is that it? Is that all Salesforce can offer? Which is obviously not the whole story. The second part of the story starts from the automation, which is the key in the Salesforce success. So basically, so far whatever we have done, a lot of that can be achieved by some other basic simple softwares like Excel or Access and things of that sort, because you can able to retrieve the data, store the data, or any other basic um, databases as well that you might have used MySQL and even Access databases and other. You can able to store good number of data, you can able to retrieve them. Maybe you don't have that kind of flexibility in terms of how you can able to share the data between the users and give that kind of security that we already discussed. So that's already an area which is not easily achievable by other simple platforms. But on top of it, the main deal starts with how you can basically start automating some of the tasks that you are doing repetitively, and that's where the real value comes up. So think about, again, I think I have given that example in the previous session as well. When you buy something from Amazon, as soon as you complete the purchase, you will receive an automated email in your mailbox with the thank you letter and also the list of all the items that you have received. Within that email, there are also links which you can click, and that will take you back to your shopping cart or back to your the page where you have bought the stuff. And in case if you need to change or return or basically execute some other actions from there, you can able to do that. So that's where your real automation starts, that this process is purely automated. So no one is sitting in a back office where they are collecting all the items that you have purchases in a form or an email and send out that email and then doing an active correspondence. So all of these things are automatically happen, and from one step to another, basically they actually be able to automate all of those processes. So for example, as soon as you purchase, you will receive an automated email with a list. From that email itself, you can go back and say, okay, I want to change my order. So from there onwards, you can change the order, you can reevaluate, you can basically return some items, things of that sort. And all of those steps are not being monitored by anybody. All of these processes are automated, and they can able to perform without any supervision, and you can go step by step and complete your transaction, and then you sign out. So basically all of those processes are automated. Same thing is when you are in your bank account, you can transfer the data, you can basically transfer the data within your bank, you can transfer the data to somebody else, and automatically all the other thresholds will start kicking in. For example, let's say you can transfer with it to somebody else and you have a limitation of $500. So how does that really work? Who is calculating when the limit is executed and when there's a deadline? So for example, if you can transfer $500 for 24 hours, so as soon as you draw $500, after that there's an automation running in the back end where it is calculating, okay, as soon as the 24 hours kicks in, and between that, these actions are not prohibited. So for example, in between that point when you draw the $500 till the 24 hours meet, if you try and go ahead and try to do another transaction, that will not happen, and it will give you a message saying that, hey, you already use your $500 for 24-hour limit. Please come back after that many hours. And once that clock is completed, then you log in, and you can able to draw the money. So basically all these processes, so this is basically another example of automated process. Or more simple, like what we can practice is something like when you are purchasing something, if there is a certain amount, after that, if you want to give some automated discounts, so that will also kick in automatically. For example, if you're saying that anybody who's buying a product more than $1,000, they can get like a 10% discount, anything after that. So all of that can be automatically calculated, and at the counter you can get the price after the discount. So you don't need to manually calculate how much that amount is, and automatically, just a simple example. More complicated examples are, I can give you, for example, we are working with one of the agencies where they calculate the loan option. So usually all these loans used to be, obviously, somebody sitting at the back office reviewing the data and basically making the decision and giving the value. Okay, this should be your loan percentage. Now, based on Salesforce team and business analysts and product owners and business owners, all of them sit together, come up with the idea that how we are actually calculating it manually using the human resources, and then come up with the different type of formulas. And then they put all those formulas together in terms of different business rules. So that is our topic for today, that what are those business rules. So basically they put all of those together in terms of business rules. And then from that business rules, they're able to automate the whole loan process. So now, traditionally, what used to happen is if a lender goes in, they submit the papers, they submit all the documentation, and somebody sitting at the back end open up those, maybe print it out, maybe review it on the screen, and then basically compare those numbers with whatever thresholds they're supposed to have, and then make a decision that, okay, you can get 3.5% home loan, and then give back to the lender. If they're okay, then they can apply and get it. If they don't agree, then if there's a margin for negotiation, they go through the cycle. So that process, using Salesforce, they're able to automate end to end. And now it's completely automated, meaning that the lender can log in any point in time of the day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days. They can just log in, they can provide all the information, run all the process the back end, and within a couple of seconds, they can get their approval, denial, rates. They can agree. If they are not satisfied, they can rerun, they can change the numbers. So a lot of these things are automated, but again, something like that is a very heavy lift. So this was a process that pretty much took about, I would say, year and a half to develop, with like 50 plus consultants, top of the line. But again, the impact is huge, right? It's a billions of dollars of market. So again, for that, that the huge difference is there. Now they can assign the loans in pretty much no time. Same thing is, I work for another client. Again, they're pretty big. They're one of the biggest recruiting company in the world, and they have about 8 different companies. They have 30 offices in different countries. So they actually they have 10,000 users, meaning they have 10,000 or plus minus recruiters and their vendors and folks who are working on the positions across the globe. And what they used to do, obviously, they have a position. So they have clients, for example, different banks or different pharmaceutical companies or IT companies, and they give them positions that, okay, these are the positions where we are looking for recruits. And then they have, obviously, the people who are looking for the job. So they are basically like a middleman, where they are kind of connecting the right resources. So the challenge was, obviously, you have a position, and then obviously matching with that, you still have like 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50, sometimes 100 resumes, which are somehow related to the same position. So typically they used to have different filters, different keyword searchers, like a small level tools where you can able to get some sort of information back from resume, saying that, okay, if you're looking for Java developer, it can tell you in this resume, okay, this resume is the highest because the Java word is used like 10 times in this resume. Now, people obviously understood that, and they start kind of playing around with the system. And as you know that, everybody says that if they're looking for this thing, just basically sprinkle over your resume so that your resume. And the reason for that is, if a lot of companies are using these automated tools, most of them were pretty dumb in a sense that they just calculate the number of the keywords, and then they basically prioritize the resume which has the highest keyword. Now, again, that's pretty dumb. They don't get into more of a really understanding what experience they have, and then trying to understand like more of a, it doesn't really understood the value, but it only go for the physical matching and then give them. So those tools are not as efficient. And again, very soon they figured out that this might not give them the best candidates available. So then they kind of develop more advanced tools where they can actually go and using NLPs, which is natural language processing, and things of their sort, where they can able to understand the intent. And again, this is not purely related to Salesforce, but something that is part of it. So they actually develop, again, same thing, Salesforce, where they can kind of connected all their systems together, and then they start doing automation. So the reason for bringing up this example is, what they did is, if they have one position, their task is how Salesforce can best prioritize and give us the priority list so that we can start making the call. So for example, if we have 50 resumes which somehow matching with this position for Java developer, who should I start calling first? Because again, you have recruiters who are making calls, and then they are saying, hey, are you still available? This is the position. This is here. Do you are you interested and you want to go? So, but again, he can make enough calls in a day, right? And again, if you're really good recruiter sitting at the position 50, he might not never reach to that person, and then maybe he might be exhausted in between and maybe hire somebody else in the middle, which may not be the best match, or maybe it will cause them delay, and by the time they get to the right candidate, some other companies may have submitted and already got the position. So it's all about time, efficiency, and more accurate results. So what they did is basically they start looking into Salesforce and start doing automation. So some of the examples from that experience was, let's say if there's a position, we run different rules. One of the rule was, okay, how close and who is closer to that location in terms of physical distance, right? Because a lot of positions are there where they require, I mean, again, this is way pre-COVID. It's a couple of years back when I did this project. So again, there was most of the companies still looking for the people to join in office, in person. So one of the things they used to run is, okay, let's see how far is that person. So that could be one point. Then they want to see, okay, how many other positions they have, how many positions they stick to, how long, and things of that sort. They come up with different type of rules, and all of those rules are basically driven by the real people. So we used to sit like one of our business analysts, or multiple of our business analysts, they basically sit with the business users, the recruiters, the hiring managers, and things of their sort, and try to understand, okay, how do you evaluate which person is your best fit for a position? What do you look into that? How much weightage do you give for number of years? How much weightage do you give for address? How much weightage do you give for the certifications? How much weightage do you give for degree and things of that sort, or previous experiences, or where did they have they worked, how long did they have? So all of these things we kind of get together and then start putting them into a sort of automation formulas, and then start plugging them in. So step by step, again, it was a really long project, took a while, but after that they basically able to automate this 360 view, where when they have a position, the system automatically scans the available resumes, and within seconds they can give the list of most like the best match in a sequential order, so that you can start making calls, and that system actually reduce their churn, and basically able to get to the right people way much faster, without spending hours and hours on call and trying to figure out who is the right match. So these are a couple of examples for the automation. So today's topic is obviously related to different automation tools, and there are different ways we can do that. And we are Salesforce continuously evolving, giving more power to the user, so we can able to make more and more automation in Salesforce, because obviously automation is not something which is good to have. It's basically it's necessary to have. So right now, pretty much everybody, especially in big organizations or medium-sized organizations, they're looking for automation because they have seen that, and it is pretty much proven that the results are more accurate and way much faster compared to, obviously, if somebody as a human resource is doing the same task, the accuracy is way lower from a human resource, and obviously it takes ton of time to get it done. So obviously automation is nothing new. We are doing it for a while. And then in Salesforce also, again, it's not a topic for today, but basically if you able to get into that, Salesforce also have a module called Einstein. So if you have some time, Google it or YouTube it, and learn a little bit about it if you have interest. So Einstein is basically launched 3 years, 4 years back. It's basically AI based module, and the things that I'm telling you, like kind of setting up the priorities and setting up how, which one is more feasible, predictive analysis, prescriptive analysis, all of that can be done using the AI module based on your data. So for example, if a bank has a data for 10 years, and they basically, this AI module will uh, suck up all the data, do some calculations, and start understanding how this thing is work by itself. And at the end of the day, if you have a new person coming into the office applying for a loan, it can give you already the percentage, that how much percentage this person is likely to get a loan, or what could be the caveats and what you can do, and who do you need to work first, and who has more probability. So all of those probabilities and work has been calculated. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Again, what we are learning is just the first building block in terms of admin, just to understand the infrastructure. But if once you get inside, it's a pretty cool area where you can learn a lot of AI, you can learn a lot of BI tools. So I don't know if you guys have known that Salesforce also bought a couple of tools in last couple of years. They have bought AI tools, BI tools. They have bought different integration tools like MuleSoft, and a lot of other things. So now Salesforce is basically a very, very huge multi-cloud platform. So they have approximately about 25 plus clouds available, from anywhere from Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, to Einstein Cloud, so to e-commerce, health, and all that good stuff. So anyways, coming back to our automation. So a couple of processes that we'll go through today will be email templates. So let me talk quickly about it. So email template is something very basic. You might have seen it already a couple of times. So email template is something, let's say you want to send back a thank you letter, you want to send back a welcome letter, somebody sign up for your website, or somebody purchase something, or you need to send out some sort of a very regular thank you letter, or things of this, or any template, or you need to send out some as soon as somebody shows some interest. In case, taking our example, if somebody shown an interest to one of our properties for purchasing, you can send out a thank you letter with some details of the property that he has selected. So let's say you want to go to the next step and you want to give them something more. So for example, if somebody have liked a property, shown their interest, say I want more information, so you can set up an automated email using the email templates, which we're going to talk about in a second. Is you can set up an email template, and automatically that will take the information from the data that you already have. So in our case, connecting into the example, for example, we have all the information about the property, the price, the asking price, and let's say you have more information like the size and things of that sort. So all of that you can add in the template as a field names. And based on the record that he has selected, all of that information using the email template will return back automatically, and it will basically populate whatever record the user is choosing. So if the user is choose property 1, the information for the property 1 will go back in using the email template, using the automated email response. So not only we are using the email template in that, but we also need something where we have some sort of process where if we click that, then do this, right? So how does it? So one thing is, obviously you need an email template, but also you need a process which can kick on that thing that he can receive the email. So for example, if somebody sign up a weekly letter from your website, The next step is you want that person to send out an email thanking them, and maybe giving them the link, or sending them the uh, the newsletter for that particular week or something like that. So basically you're kicking off a process, and there are multiple ways you can do that. But let's say we can start with the basic one, which is called workflow, meaning that you need to have some sort of criteria, and then you need to some sort of action. So these two combine, and then the action is basically where you're sending out an email using the pre-populated email templates, which will get the information from the associated record automatically and send out the information, right? So we can use these two in a combination. Same thing is, you may have also noticed there are different type of approval processes. So for example, the related to our example, let's say if you have a property more than $1 million, and anytime if you're selling a property of that value, you need a pre-approval from your manager. Or if you are going on a vacation, if you have taking less than 3 days of a PTO, that's fine. You can just apply and take it. But if you're taking more than 3 days at your work, you need to get a pre-approval. Or if you are working, any of those scenarios where you are working in a sales team, a certain quota, you can able to do it on your own signature. But if you need to give a higher discount, or if you are working with a bigger deals, you need to get an approval from your manager or multiple managers or multiple teams before you make a final decision. That's where this approval process comes up, that how you kick off an approval process, where that record that is needs approval, it will be basically assigned to approver, to your manager. He will able to review it quickly. He should getting an email, he should getting a message in their Salesforce. So multiple ways, so that he knows that something is waiting for his approval, and also get continuous reminder. And then once he review it and approve it, that get back to you, and then you also get an email and notification saying that your record which you send for approval either is approved, rejected, or maybe they need some more information before for approval. So you need something of that sort. So that is called approval process. We'll go into more detail how to build one today. And then assignment rules is also another a really good and more widely used feature. So example for that is, let's say we talk about a call center. A call's coming in, and then usually there are different ways, like more hardware ways, where you can assign the next incoming call to the next available person who is free, basically. But let's say you want to make it more advanced in terms of you want to assign the calls based on based on certain criterias. And those criteria could be anything. For example, if you're working in a Verizon call center, you want to assign the sports channel related calls to a certain group, or if it is related to movies to a certain group, or if it is related to more like a kids channel to a certain group, or maybe if somebody is looking to buy like a combined package to another group who is more get more expertise. So now you are talking about a little bit more criteria based basically assignments. So that's where assignment rule comes up, where you can use some of the fields that we have, and based on those fields you can assign it to particular users or particular set of users. So you can create groups, and then you can assign it. So in our example, let's say we have houses to sell. So we can either define by the price of the house, saying that okay, anything which is 100,000 to 500,000 will go to group A. Anything more than that will go to group B, or we can do that. Okay, these X many zip codes will go to group A. These X many zip codes to go to group B. So as soon as a new record comes up in a queue, so it will automatically goes to the right people, and they will also get some sort of again notification or email or something, so that they know that they have a new record sitting in there for waiting. And then you can also run different types of KPIs and triggers on that. So for example, if your response rate is less than 24 hours, and one of your customers, one of your Verizon or any other cable channel customer, let's say they logged a complaint saying that, hey, we are not able to view it, or it's not working, or whatever that is. As soon as that case comes to in a queue, the timer will start, and if it goes beyond, let's say 12 hours, it will right away, this case should move to the next tier so that you can still able to meet the 24-hour. Or if you already miss the 24-hour, then it goes to your manager, and then he will take care of it, or goes to tier 2 or whatever that is. So you can also able to do assignment rules based on a lot of different things. Then if we get a chance today, we can also learn a little bit more about a slightly advanced version of workflow, which is called Process Builder. So there are some limitations with workflow. It used to work pretty well and still being widely used. But then if you want to make it a little bit more interactive, want to do a lot of different things in one go, then Process Builder is, you can say that it's like a next level version of workflow, can do a lot of things between them. But again, there are some advantages for Process Builder, so we'll learn that. And this is one of the newer topics anyways, that has been added recently, and now it's being widely used, so we can also go through it. It's also have a nice physical layout, so it's just a little bit more easier and more attractive to use. So with that, very quickly go ahead and start our first topic, which is email templates. So there are two types of email templates available. Again, as I said, we are not usually not trying to go back a lot in the classic, but anyways, just to give you a quick view how the email templates are available in the classic, because in many organizations they might have moved to new one, but they end up using still the old classic template. So you just need to know where they are, and then hopefully in coming days or months or years they might migrate to the Lightning one. So again, there are two flavors, classic and Lightning. We'll go through it both. So let's able to view it. And again, just to give you already give you an idea that what are the email templates, you set them up, you put them the fields. So instead of actually writing the names or actually writing the values of the field, you just provide the field information. So for example, if you want to say, hey, hello, for example, your customer one, right, a lead one. So instead of saying hello Tom, hello Ali, you can say, okay, hello, and then the name of the field, which is, for example, username. And then you can say thank you for your whatever you want to write it down. You can do that, and then thank you. And then again, instead of saying myself, you can put that basically record owner. So let's say if you have 5 different people who are sending that email, so whoever send out, it will using their name. So instead of actually defining the fields or the value, or let's say you are providing the value of a property for a particular record, you can just put the related information in terms of field IDs, and then whatever record you are using to sending that information, it will be, the actual value will be picked up from the actual record. So we'll see how does it work. So basically, it's how to access that. You can go to the app launcher and go to email templates. Okay, so as soon as you type in email templates, you can see both of them. So let's start with classic email templates. We'll probably not go from here for Lightning. I'll show you another location. But anyways, here you have the classic email templates. So there are 4 different types of it. Used to be there are 4 different types of classic templates. Again, as I said, if you're working on most of the time, you might be not using these classic templates anymore. But anyways, just good to know if you happen to use them. So let's say if you want to create a new template, it used to have 4 different type of templates. And let's quickly walk through what they are. So text, obviously, you can understand if you have just a plain and simple text, you want to do some thank you and you want to add some information in there. You can obviously relate, the field values in there, but the simple text email, which is probably one of the best ways, because if the user is basically have a lesser coverage, or if you're using a device or something where the signals are not good, it's just the most easiest way to send something. But then if you want to make it a little bit more fancy, you can use the HTML. And again, for HTML, some of these nicer emails that you get where you have some nicer header, footer, some nice videos or things of that sort are there. You can use the HTML template, and you can create like a class, like a letterhead, and then you can use it. Again, if you know HTML and CSS, it might be better because you need some of those skills in order to beautify your email response. So you can use some, if you go back to your email, you might have seen some nice emails from Sprint or T-Mobile or Verizon, and companies like that where they have some nice stuff going on. So they are between HTML and the custom without classic letterhead. Is basically if you don't want to even use a letterhead, you want to do purely customize, write a code. You can use that. Again, it's not 100% code based, but there are some using some custom functionality. But if you want to just use like a purely code based Salesforce language based, you can also use via Visual Force, which is one of the Salesforce languages, one of the ways you can create a Visual Force page and then you can attach with that. So these are 4 different things. Again, for our interest, we'll just go with the text. Rest of them probably require a little bit more development techniques if you have. Else, usually in every team there are some developers. So in case in your organization, if you're working as an admin, probably either you know HTML and CSS. If you don't, then somebody else who knows it able to help you out, but you can able to set everything else. So that's, we go through the real content, how you can get the information. So let's say if you want to go ahead and set up a text-based template, you can get and you can go next, and here again you can make sure you can read it out. So again, all of these different tools that we are using, make sure there are some quick information embedded in there. So for example, here use merge fields to personalize your email content. You can add subtitles, so some basic information is always available. Also, you can see that view sample templates, so it also give you some sample templates available. So all of these things are very useful. So try to at least go through them once. Let me open that. So here, yeah, so here you can have the like this is like a template, example template, that here you update with the today's date, then you set dear, and then here you add the fields from the data, which is first name, and then you say sir or madam, and then you add whatever information you want to add. And here in the organization name, because every record has a different organization, so again you use the field name here, organization name. We look forward to working with your account and company name. Again, that information is available. You can just put the field name. So here you notice that there's a particular way of the field, and probably your question would be, do I need to remember that, or how I can get it? So that part I'm just going to show in a second, that how you can get those field names. You will be receiving the information package in the mail shortly. In the meantime, please review the attached company overview sincerely. Again, here you can see the user full name, meaning let's say if you have 10 different users as working as a sales team, so whoever is sending that, or if it is going automatically, again, for whose customer or who is the account holder or account owner, his name will go, and then the organization name will go, and then his email address will go. So all of these things are basically kind of a template customized. In that way, it can be used for as many users you have, and you can basically send this template and it will take the information for the particular record that you're sending. So how we can get those field names? So here here you have different uh, field types available, and then you can select the field. So for example, here if you want to select if you want to go straight to Unboxx object, so here you will have now all the fields available. So if you go to any field from here, you can select whatever field you're looking for. So for example, if you're looking for the owner last name, you can click on that, and here it will give you the actual like the name of the field that you need to use. So if you can copy from here, and then in the email body, wherever you want to use that name, if you copy that, so now this information will provide the owner last name. Okay, and same thing, you can choose whatever field you're looking for, property number here, and then you can say your property number is here, and the property number will basically pop up. Same thing, you can go ahead and let's say you need an address. Same way, you can get all of the fields that you are basically looking out from here. Okay, and you can just go ahead and add here. So that's where you can get all the fields. Here is your setup email template. So this is the new template you are making. So for example, here you want to say email template name, so whatever name you want to give it so that you can remember. So let's say you want to say welcome welcome template. Same thing, unique code description, just say welcome template for now. whatever subject you want to give, and then you can start, typing in the information that you're looking for. Hello. So here, now let's say you want to greet to your customer. So here, for example, in our Unboxx property field, we are looking for the owner's first name or full name. So for example, here we want to get the full name of the owner. Whatever you want to put in there. And then at the end, you can also add um, the record owner name. You can go to users fields, um, get the username, and then put it over here. Okay, so again, just showing you a couple of fields you can add, but basically you have full control. You can go to whatever object you want, you can select whatever field you want. The main thing is how to get these field names that you need to use. So this is how you can get the field names. You can just, whatever field you're looking for example last name, it will give you the last name that is actually you need to use in the code. This is actually the field name. So what, just include that field name. Once you include the field name, whatever record you are running it against, then it will basically give you that information. So now if you want to quickly test it out, how does it look? It also have some testing ways. So go to the next one. This is basically your template. It is saying that you have created this template, all that basic information about the template, because you can reuse this template on different occasions. So for example, we will going in moving forward, once we learn the workflow or other business processes or approval processes. So this is how you will create different templates. So for example, in the approval processes, your template will say, hello approver, please go ahead and review the below record and approve it as soon as possible, right? So that would be one email template. In other occasion, you may have a template saying that thank you for adding to our mailing list, and here is our first brochure or something like that. So you, based on whatever you need, you can create multiple templates. And then when you are doing automation, when you need to send an automated emails, that's where you will say, as an action, I'm going to send an automated email, but here is the email template that will be used. So that's where you're going to use it. So here, this is a sample email template. This is the information. And if I want to test it out, how does it look? I can say send test and verify the merge fields. So here you want to use it with a particular contact. You can again create some contacts in your list. I have some contacts here available. I can select one of the contacts. For account, again, you have a lot of accounts available. So you can use one of the accounts, and then you can also send a preview email to any email address that you are interested in, just to see how this email looks like. Because whenever whenever as soon as you set it up and send out, you want to make sure how does it look, how does the customer will receive it. If there's any errors or something, you can quickly catch it. So you want to just send a sample email to yourself just to test it out, and once everything looks good, then you can set this template to the customer. So here, see that as soon as you can do that, here it is saying my username. Here it doesn't pick up the value. Maybe the information I used it is not available, so I can use something else here. Let me edit that. So instead of that, I can go to contact fields and maybe use the contact first name instead of that. Okay, so here I use a particular contact. And again, I'll show you from where you can add the contacts and accounts. But basically, I use one of the contact because whenever you're sending an email, you're sending to one of your contacts. So, for example, we have created Unboxx properties, Unboxx thing. But when we are working with our contacts, we normally add them as a contact, and then we can use those contact information right here. So here I use the last name, and then this was K was the username that I have, which is KLE, and the first name was K. So it comes up. So see, this automatically comes up, and the email can also go to the email address. So if I want to test it where it is going, so I can give like a test email address where I just want to see how this email is appearing as. So I can send to a sample email address just to see how it looks like. So this is how it's going to look like. It is coming up from here. The header of the email comes up over here. Hello, this was the previous one, and then this one here. So basically, it will send the information right here. I think the new one which I just created doesn't come up yet. This one was a previous one. So anyways, this is how you create the email template and how you can test it out. So here, when you're testing, just keep in mind when you say contact and account, these are actually two separate objects. So I just want to show you quickly. So when you're creating it, how you can get that. So if you go to all the apps, and here you have access to all the different objects which are available. So contact is one of the standard object which is already available. So all you need to do is you can go to contact. Okay, so basically it will list out all the contacts that you have. So by default, again, all of these are available most probably in your org as well. Some of these are just a sample contact just to give you an idea how they look like. If you want to create your own new contact based on your business, you can start adding from here. Same thing, you can start giving the name information, all that that is related to that particular contact, and then save it. Similarly, you also have account object, which is again one of the standard object. So you can also, there are a couple of sample account objects available, but if you want, you can create your own accounts as well moving forward. So here I have created like one sample here. These two are available as a default. Same thing, all of some of these are obviously I created some of the sample ones, but most of these are created just to give you an idea what kind of account you have. So we will probably talk a little bit more about the accounts and contacts in the next session. But for now, just keep that in mind, that contacts are the people that you're working with, they're your clients, you're working with them. So let's say if we talk about Amazon, so you will be in their contact list. And the account will be, let's say if you are working as an individual, your account can be your name and account. Or if let's say you are basically, they also work with a lot of organizations and companies. So for example, if you are working, if you are a client through a company, so that account that you are working for, that will be account for them. Because usually when the companies are working, they also have different type of customer. They work a lot of time with B2B companies, meaning that if Amazon is sending stuff to company ABC, and in company ABC there are 50 employees who are working, and you are basically working with all those employees. So you also have that account information available, so you know that okay, this person XYZ actually work for this company, and this person work for this company, and that company name is actually in your account name. So company accounts is basically your company name that you're working for, and then your contact information is the contact person. Contact person information will have the email address, phone numbers, address, things of that sort, you know. And then if they are working through a company, or if they are obviously, when you work in a B2B system, they normally work for a company, so that will become their account. If you have no account, then either you can have a default or something else that you can create. For example, for nonprofit business pack or non-profit service pack, basically what happens is a lot of times individuals are basically donating. So in that setting, you can also have something called personal account, meaning that your account name will become, for example, my last name is Ali, so it will become Ali household, right? So that's become the account name. Now if I have more people under my same household who are donating, they will get under my Ali household name. So that's how account works in either scenario. Either it will be tagged using a company name, or if you are working most widely for a non-profit organizations, the way they set up under individual accounts, and then if there are more household in that particular account, they come under that particular account. All right, so this is how you can able to um, use the one which is probably not as widely being used. So let's get into the lightning templates. Okay, so now if you go ahead and search for email templates, through that it will open up a new tag, and here you can see that these are new lightning templates, and it's like a slightly different view. Again, this is more modern. This is how they have now created your different folders here, so you can create your own folders as well in order to save your templates. So let's go back and see how you can create a new template. So here you have a new email template. If you want to create a new email template, here you can give the name of the template that you're looking for. Welcome new customer, the name of the template. It is related to which object. So here, let's say we want to start with maybe leads. Let's say we are sending, it's a new customer or potential customer. So we are sending out to our leads, description, whatever you want to add, so that later on when you come back or somebody else come back and want to see what this template is doing, they get able to get some information. Yeah, one additional item here is, obviously while doing our practice, we are not using this description box a lot, but in real case scenario, this is a very important um, uh, location in terms of adding why are you doing this, because later on when you come back after a couple of months, or you have like 20, 30, 40, 50 different templates, this description can definitely help, because you may have multiple welcome templates for different purposes. So make sure that you can, I mean, right now it's okay, it's just a practice, but in the actual organization when you're working, you need to make sure you provide some description to every new module, or every new template, or every new workflow, or every new item that you're creating, so that later on when you come back, or if somebody else is looking into that, they can able to get an idea what is working. So here you can select, you have different folders, as I said, you can select it whichever folder you want to use it. So if you want to keep something just for yourself, you can use your own, one of your own folders. If you want to share that with uh, larger audience, and you can use some of the public folders, so everybody can able to view it and use it. Okay, here you have what you like to be the subject of the email. Okay, and here again some enhanced letterheads if you have. So same thing again, no change. uh, Same way you can start adding. So this is just a one form. You can use HTML here, you can write a code, and if you want to add the same thing, like for example here you want to add, so we are working with the leads. So if you want to add the lead name or information about the lead, from where you can get it. So this is small tag button at the bottom, insert merge field, is available right here. So the same way over there, it was like a drop down. Here you have this one. So if you click on this, it will start giving you value. So there are, based on what you have selected previously, it will start giving you um, recipient, sender, or organization. So let's say in terms of recipient, we want to add the lead name. Um, so we want to add the lead first name, want to insert. So here they add the lead first name, and then whatever information you want to add, you can do that. Same thing if you want to add something else here from the sender side. Same thing, you can come here. All of that information, if you want to review, is available. whatever you want to choose, you can choose it from here and then basically insert the value. So here the sender name will come up, and that's your folder is ready. Now, if you want to save it, go ahead and save that. Okay, so now this folder is created. Just want to make sure if it is active. Okay, here. Um, Yep, right here. So let's test it out just to make sure it's working. So as we have created on a lead, so we can go to another object called lead. And again, this also will go through in the next session. So most of these are comes under Sales Cloud. So we'll kind of a look into, if we get a chance, a very quick view of what is Sales Cloud and how does it work, so that you can start getting an idea about the other clouds as well. So this is again something good to have. So let's say if I go to my leads, I can able to see all my leads which are available here. I can open up to a particular lead and able to view the information here. You can go to the details. Okay, and then if you want to go back and just try to sample out the contact information for sending the new um, go to context. So now let's say we want to test out our other email template that we have created either via Lightning or the classic. You can directly go to contact as well here, and then here you want to, for example, you want to send an email. So you go to the email section, because again, as I said, whenever you're sending emails, who you normally send to your contacts. So you go there, and even the leads are also converted into contacts. So leads are, we will again, as I said, we'll discuss about in the next session what is leads and how they're related with the contacts and accounts. So there's just a particular process that follows. But for now, just consider the contacts as where you are, as your contact list, where you sending the emails, where you're reaching out and providing the information. Because for example, if you want to set up a call, or if you want to send an email or call them, so that's where you normally reach out to the contact information. So here you have an email, some basic information usually populate automatically. So because this particular user information already populated, but if you want to change it and maybe send it out from your other user, you can also do that. Because this user is Sarah Khan, so Sarah Khan also automatically populate. You can also add some BCC information here, subject. So now instead of me writing the email, so one option is obviously I can write the email here, but as we already have created the templates, so there's a way you can directly use the templates that we have already created. So here, there are a couple of options. So just quickly walk through some of those. So for example, if you want to attach in a file, you can use that. If you want to use the merge field, like what we did in the past, you can also use that. And then the next option is if you want to insert, create, or update a template. So here we can use the template, but let's quickly walk through. If you want to preview the email, as soon as you add everything, you can delete it. And then if you want to pop out and have more space to work on, you can do that. So let's here go to the templates that we have created. So see, some of these templates that we just created are available here. As soon as you want to insert, as soon as you insert that information will be start populating here. And same thing, you can able to view the email, how it looks like. So see, the name comes up and it populate with the actual value to show you how the email looks like. So instead of actually sending out an email and previewing it, the Lightning have already built in preview much neater, and then you can able to see how that preview email looks like. So here, if you can have created multiple of the templates, so if you're reaching out to the client, you can directly use one of these templates instead of writing the whole thing, and then you can just send it out, and this will go to the particular client, and the email address is already available in the account. So whatever contact is there, the email address normally populated by itself. So everything is all set. All you need to do is come to that user, select the template, and click send, and it's gone. So same thing if you're working with a client say, hey, I need uh, let's say you call to a client, and client says, or if you're working with a client, they have some, you sold a product, and they have some issues with how to work with that product. So you may have created multiple templates, and they already have attached working documents with them. So all you need to do is, okay, you have this problem, okay, no worries, let me send you a quick walkthrough for that, and here you go, you can just send it out, and that person will receive right away, and then you can close the case, something like that. So there are multiple ways how you can use that. uh, as I said, there are different type of templates that you can create, and you can also have like a template with email attachments, documentations, and things of the sort that you normally send out to your customers. They are available, so that you can able to use that. Any questions so far for the email templates? Okay. No question. Have anybody used email templates in anything else that they're currently working on? Any examples? Do we still have people on call, or?
Yeah, even I used like a decade ago in Java.
Okay. What
For
kind of templates you used to use?
actually, it's like one hard drive manufacturing company.
Okay.
And whenever the user placed for any new hard drive or anything, right, we used to send an automated email to that particular customer. Actually, it is for distributor.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
In which region and which how much quantity they have bought and all. Regarding that information and all, we used to send.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. So yeah, same thing. Similar kind of application as you said you used to use, can be used using Salesforce as well. And there are a lot of different uses. I mean, you will see this email automation is not just for welcome emails and things of that sort. There are a lot of things like approval processes, workflow rules, assignment rules, wherever you need to have an email either for internal users. And again, just keep in mind there are two different types of audience that you can send this email. One, for your internal users. So for example, if you are assigning somebody an approval process, he's an approver for a case, then you can also send him an email, create a template for that. Or if you are assigning somebody on a queue, assigning a new case that he needs to look into, you can again create a separate type of template, and you can assign them, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple ways that you can use these email templates. All right, let's get to the next item. So this was kind of a precursor. This will be used in upcoming other users as well. Some of the details are already listed out here. There's some examples. As I said, pretty straightforward. You can able to, once you start practicing it, you can able to do that. Now let's talk about workflow. As I said, workflow is pretty much related to if you want to automate a process. So what is the use case? Take an example of the medical clinic process. A patient visits and utilize services based on their insurance claim. Based on their insurance, clinic will send a bill to the patient within 7 days. If the patient did not pay the bill, reminder email will be sent after 30, 60, 90 days. So let's say some of these actions you want to make it automated. We just need to understand how this flow is working before we make it automated. So keep in mind that automation requires a very detailed synopsis, understanding of the use case. We need to know all of the steps, all of the conditions, and the action items. So there are two main things which are required is what is the condition, what is the criteria, and what is the action item. And in order to understand that, you need to understand like a very good flow of each step. So in here, for example, I trim it down those steps just to give you an idea that how you evaluate that. So within 7 days, send the invoice using workflow. So here you can able to within first 7 days, as soon as the invoice is ready, you can update a field says invoice is ready, because it might sometimes take some time to evaluate. And let's say if you have a lot of patients, so not necessarily every invoice is ready right away. So based on that, if you can automate those in Salesforce. But let's imagine first thing is you can send the invoice using the workflow. And then you can basically in workflow, there is something called, you can have time-based actions. You can have immediate actions also, and time-based action. So let's say if you already know the cost of the visit, you can use the immediate action and right away. So within 7 means you don't need to wait for 7 days. If you have that information available right away, as soon as the person steps out, they will get their first bill, right? And then let's say they have 30 days to send it out. We usually put 7 days because it might also require that they send like a hard copy bill. So the email can go right away, and then the hard copy will reach them within first 7 days. Next is after 30 days, you can able to check, like put a condition saying that, okay, let me check if the payment is received. If not, then you can send out another reminder letter. Again, this could be a letter which this template will basically have the information about you, about the patient name, about the service they have received. And again, you can use all of those fields in there. And then you can mention that you already have 30 days lapse. Please go ahead and submit your payment. Same thing, you can have another template for 60 days, more information, more things that whatever is needed for that in 90 days. And then criteria is basically based on the whatever criteria, then you can take an action. An action is sending out an email, and then sending out a follow-up email, and then sending out a third follow-up email. So usually what happen is, in reality, just to understand how these things are working, in the first 29 days, your workflow is just calculating. So basically in the backend, if you put a criteria saying that after 30 days, you need to send an email. So first 29 days, it will test, or basically, let's say if we have like a send out first day, it will check, nothing will happen. So for example, if you need to send out, in this case, after 30 days, you need to send out. So every day it will be checking, is it 30 days? Not yet. 5 days? Not yet. As soon as it goes 29, from 29 to 30 days, then if your criteria is now matching, so it is criteria is good, then the action will happen. Basically, so it's basically, you can think about like a clock is running, whatever criteria you have set, as soon as the criteria meet, then the action will happen. So this is just to kind of give you an idea how this works. This is the same thing as if you put like a if else condition. So if this is, then do this. But again, that if it is a constant changing value in the condition, for example, if it's a number of days or a value, then whenever that value meets, whenever the criteria suffice, then the action will happen. Okay, so this one is just a simple example, just for elaboration, but here is the real deal, how you actually work on the workflow. So basically for workflow, there are two main items. As I said, one is the criteria. What is the condition? So for any workflow rule, you need to have some sort of condition. So you need to know what is the condition from which is this triggering. So some of the examples for the criteria is, what is the value of the house. So for example, if the value of the house is more than 500,000 or $1 million, then do this. Or uh, if the product or the total cost is more than this one, give this much discount. So what is the condition and what is the action? So in terms of action, there are multiple ways you can take action. So first thing, again, as I said, it will check the criteria. If the criteria is good, then it will go to the next step, which is, as soon as this criteria is good, then it can take multiple actions. So some of those actions can engage either sending an email. So as I said, if as soon as this criteria is met, then send out an email. The second is update a field. So what does that mean? Can anybody elaborate on when I say update a field, what does it mean? Anybody?
What action we have taken?
So when I say here, update a field, so anybody can understand what does that really do? Like, what does it really mean? Updating a field.
What action are you going to take next?
Yeah.
No, already what action we have taken?
So what it means is, for example, let's say we are on a property. Okay. So what I'm saying is, first of all, we can say, what is the criteria? In this case, let's say our criteria is based on asking price. So if I'm saying that if the asking price is more than 500,000, then change the discount price to 20%. Okay. So what will happen if we put that workflow, as soon as, if the price is lower than 500,000, then nothing will happen. As soon as, if we change, for example, if I can edit and change the asking price to a higher number, or if I'm adding a record which has higher number than 500,000, then based on that, the action will be, it will update the discounted price. Let's say the discount is, if you have more than $1 million, you will get a 10% discount. So this price will be discounted based upon this value. Does that make sense? This is called updating of the field. And this is how you can update any field that you're looking for. It could be a discounted price, it could be, percentage, or it could be reassignment of this for to somebody else, or something else. Like any of the field, you can update a field, update an existing field. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have another thing called task assignment. So what it means is, you can also create a task and then you can assign it to somebody. So here, for example, the criteria, I can set up certain criteria, like if the zip code is certain zip code, I can add those, then assign this record to certain users, something like that. So this is called task assignment. Or I can assign, as soon as, if I, for example, we were going through this example, so as soon as the patient test is completed, assign this ticket to accountant so that they can take care of it. Okay. So that is called task assignment. So you can actually assign a task to a certain user. And when we say user, they are all internal Salesforce user. And then you can assign a certain task. So for example, as soon as the customer visit, you can assign that task to the accounting team. And then they have, let's say, 3 days to make sure that they can go through all the details, and then send out the invoice to the customer. And as soon as they're done, they can say, okay, task completed. As soon as the task is completed from accounting, it may go back to the actual user, something like that. Like if it is like a help desk user, or a person who's managing all the records, so he can send it to accounting complete their task, and then once they're done, it might come back to the user. Then we have something more advanced, which is basically initiator process using API. So if you're using an external systems, let's say you have another SAP system or Oracle system or another third-party system available, which you are basically communicating via API, you can also use this one to update the system which is outside of your Salesforce system. And also you can send some actions. So as I said, in terms of actions, you can all of these actions can be taken in two different ways. So either they can be right away, immediate action. So as soon as this happens, send an email. As soon as this happens, update a feed. As soon as this action happens, assign the task. Or basically you can also schedule them based upon the time. So as soon as this condition met, after 1 day, send an email. After 2 days, send an email. After 1 day, assign this field to the user, something like that, right? So either you can take the action right away. So whenever you're creating the workflow rules, you have two options. Either you can take the action as soon as this condition met, which is like immediate action items, and or you can actually schedule them based upon a particular time. Any questions so far based on just a high level of workflow? What does it mean? Okay. Now let's go into how to execute that. What are the next steps? How you can actually work on the workflow. So go to the workflow rules, set up the criteria, set up the action, and then there are three different type of evaluation, which I'm going to talk about quickly. So here, before we actually do that, what I did is, or what you can do also is create a new pick list value category, premium property. So let's start this one. Let's go to one of our objects. So I already created that field, but just to show you. So here I have created a pick list value, if you see that, and here I have provide two drop down values, a simple pick list with one regular and one premium. Okay, so same thing, you can create a field here called property class. I just call it property class for some reason, or you can create like a category field. So whatever field you want to create, I just created here property class, regular premium with two pick list values, which is one is just a regular property, one is a premium property. Then what is the condition if the property price is higher than 500,000? So now let's go ahead and start creating the workflow rules, and then we can walk through different steps. So same thing, you can go to home, search for workflow rules. So here there's some description. Once you log in for the very first time, you can see that some details are available. Many of the tasks normally assign the emails you regularly send, and the other record updates are part of your organization's standard processes. Instead of doing this work manually, you can configure workflow to do it automatically. Okay, so another kind of a description of where you can use that. So as it says, you normally assign a different task in an office environment, the emails that you normally send out, different type of emails as we discussed, or other different type of record updates that you're performing. So typically, human resource is doing that. So instead of they doing that, if you know what is the process, you can basically automate using the workflow rules. So here some nice definitions. Workflow automate the following types of action based on your organization process. So here there are different things that you can able to do, how you can automate like assignment, a task as I discussed. You can assign it to a user or a record owner. You can send email alerts, send an email to one or more recipients you specify. And these email alerts can be for internal users or external clients, either way. Field updates, update the value of the field for record. So for example, we have a field called overdraft fee, right? Or overdraft you know, the example that I gave earlier in the session is, as soon as you draw $500, it will say now you cannot able to draw anymore. So you can basically define a field saying that overdraft limit reached. So yes or no. So for example, if you draw less than $500, it will continuously check it, and if it is less than that, it will say yes, you have more capacity. But as soon as you draw $500, then it will say that you have reached your capacity. So that flag or that field can be updated to that. And then later on, whenever it is reset, then based on the timing, you can reset the field value. So there are different small applications. Then here, again, as I said, this thing is more like a tool. So all you need to do is just to understand what it does, and then you can be as creative as you can. So a lot of things that you will be exposed to when you're actually working in the Salesforce environment, that's where you need to use all of these understanding of, okay, what workflow basically does, and then based on that, you can come up with different scenarios how you can use that. And there are a couple of examples that you can do that. Assign the follow-up task, send sales management an email alert when sales rep qualify for a large deal. Remember, I also mentioned the similar thing. Change the owner field for a contract 3 days before it expires. You can, assign it to somebody else so that they can review it. Trigger an outbound API message for external HR system to initiate a reimbursement process for approval, expense report. So these are a couple of examples that you can work with workflow. Each workflow rule consists of criteria that cause the workflow to run. So as I said, the main critical item is the criteria. So you need to know when this workflow rule will be executing. Immediate action and then time dependent action. Okay, so once you go through it, you can check that box, do not show that again. So for the first time it's good, but then later on you can remove that. So here I have created two rules, but I kind of deactivate them, so you can see that they are not activated. If I click on this button, then they will be activated. So here let's go ahead and create, and also here you can see active. The checkbox is not there, meaning these two rules are currently not working. So let's go ahead and create a brand new workflow rule from the scratch. So click on new one here. First of all, as you know that each workflow rule need to be associated with an object. So one object can have multiple workflow rules, but basically you cannot have workflow rules across different objects. And again, if you need something like that, which is across, then as I said, there are options, but they are more of a custom development. So that's where you need Apex language, a development background where you can do all of those. Like pretty much you can do whatever you want in Salesforce, but it all depends. Either can you do it via configuration, which is what we learned as an admin. So all of these things that we are doing in Salesforce terminology, this is called configuration. So you are basically using the existing functionality, setting it up, and basically using it. But the same thing that you are doing, let's say the requirement comes up where you need to create a workflow rule, but then you need to use 3 different objects. So as I just explained, there is no way you can use a workflow rule like this and you can add multiple objects. But let's say that is what you need to do, right? That is a client requirement. So that's where we need to use the customization, and that's where you need a developer. So as I said, in Salesforce, you can do a lot of these things using these available options, and that is called configuration. And you if you're working in a role of Salesforce administrator, if you're working in a role of Salesforce BA, if you're working in a role of even Salesforce business and Salesforce project manager. So some of these roles, they also, if they have time available, they can also help out with some of the configuration tasks, which is very normal. But if you need to do actually customization, writing a code, so whole this thing can be also executed using writing a code in Salesforce, which is called Apex. So for that, obviously, you need to have like a development background. You need to know how to actually code, and that's where the customization will start. Now, just also keep in mind that although you will be exposed to a lot of customization, because a lot of times the requests that customer have, they cannot be fulfilled by configuration. So you need to do customization, which is very normal. But if you're working in an environment where the things are pretty straightforward, your first choice is always, from Salesforce perspective, is to use configuration. And there's a good reason for that. So what happens is, if you go ahead and make a lot of customization using writing the code, what will happen tomorrow, like after a certain time, when there are more features available and you kind of are trying to use the new features launched by Salesforce, and or you can upgrade the existing the module, then if you have a lot of custom code, then in order to match the code, you might need to go back, match the features, you might need to go back and start revisiting your codes. So that is like a very painful process, where if you write a code a couple of years back, now there's some nice process available, you migrate to that, but now your code is not basically not supporting that anymore. So now your developer needs to go back and revisit the code and update the code based upon the new feature. So that's like a constant upgrade for no reason. And if you have used the configuration, and if a new Salesforce a new Salesforce install is available where they are updating features, then Salesforce will take care of it. Like all the different features which are embedded in there. If you use purely configuration, then you can just upgrade to the new version, and then basically everything will be still working the same way it was set up, because they will make sure that this is how it is set up. But as I said, if you have a combination of configuration plus custom, in some cases, as soon as you do some upgrades, install a new packages, things of that sort, you might need to go back and revisit your custom code. Okay, so first thing first, we choose the object. Second thing, we want to give a name to the rule. So whatever you want to give it. For now, I can just say test 1, 2, 3. Provide the description. So okay, so here is a very interesting thing, and a lot of time folks can get confused. So when do you want to run? When do you want to evaluate the workflow? So as I said, workflow has a condition. Okay, so you need to put a condition. So let me put the condition first. So let's say the condition is asking price greater than 500,000. Okay, now when you said check the condition, there are certain evaluation criteria that they have provided. So number one is created. So if you select this created, it means that whenever you create a new record, only it will check this condition one time while the record is being created, and that's it. So later on, if you go back and edit the record and change the value of the asking price, it will not check. So let's say when a house is first listed, the price was 300,000. It checked the criteria is not passing, it won't do any action, and that's it. And it will create the record. Now later on, you realize that, oh, this was a mistake. Actually, the asking price was not 300,000, but 600,000, right? You go back, edit the record, and update the value. Now, although based on that criteria should higher than 500,000, it should do whatever action you have done in the next, but it will not go back and check the criteria, because you said criteria evaluation only when the record is created. Okay, and in some cases that's all you need, right? So if that is the condition, that you just need to evaluate when you're creating and there is no possibility of editing and making the changes, then that's what you need to use. The second option is created and every time it is edited. Now this one sounds like a good option, but not necessary. What does it, why is it sounds good or not? Because yeah, it makes sense that every time you're editing, it can able to check and make sure it's good. However, unfortunately, this option means that if you edit any other field, so not just this field, any other field, and if you have some sort of action item where you are sending an email. So although here you have the asking price, but let's say you edit and change the buyer name. You maybe misspelled him and you go back and edit and change the item and then save it. So it created, and every time it is this. So it will see, oh yeah. So it will check, is it created? No, it was already created. But next time it is edited. Yes, it was edited. And in the action item, if you're sending an email, it will send out another email, although you are not supposed to send that email, right? Again, same thing. It will, if you edit, make another change to any other field, and it will just send out, if the action item is send out an email, it will send out an email, right? So that's why you also have another option. And but again, there could be some conditions where if you are making any change, you need to inform, because you can send an email to, let's say, the record owner as well. And for example, if I'm the record owner, this is a very sensitive property. Let's say this is one of the premier houses that I'm selling. I just need to know if anybody's touching it, right? So maybe it is really good option for me to put that rule that any property which is more than $1 million, and if anything is changing, anybody is going to any field, making any changes, I need to know. So then I can create an action item, send me an email, or send the manager an email, or send the record property owner an email, because let's say you have an open security where anybody can change any record. So if anybody changing my record, which I owns, making any field change, I need to know, right? So here you go. It makes sense in my case, and I can use this one. And then if that is not the case, then there is another option, which is saying that criteria and anytime edited to subsequently meet the criteria. So this will take care of it, this continuous sending of email in terms of if it subsequently meet the criteria. So for example, I created a record, it was 300,000, obviously it's not meeting the condition, nothing happens. I go back and edit, like I use the edit button, and then I change the value from 300,000 to 600,000. In this case, this is meeting the criteria and subsequently meeting the criteria. In that case, whatever action item I have, it will take care. Now, if I do the same thing using this option, edit the record and change the buyer's name, nothing will happen because it is not changing the criteria. It is not changing the the value of the criteria. So this probably sounds good to me. I can use this one because I'm only concerned that if the value of whatever the criteria is, in this case, obviously is the property price. So if that is changing, and now if they're meeting the criteria, yes, you are go ahead and take the action item, right? So whatever fits best, you have three different options, you can use it. And again, some minor information is also available here. You can always review that this rule is evaluated when a record is created. That is the first half of this, created before the comma. And when the record that doesn't meet the criteria is edited to meet the criteria. And as I said, the later part of it, if it was not meeting the criteria, you added it, and now it is meeting the criteria, then it's good, evaluate it, now go ahead and take the action. Same thing here, if I select that, it will also provide some information here. And then here, so if you want to read a little bit more about it, I believe here is some details. So in case if you're still confused, I hope you're not, but if you are, then you can read out, just click on this one. It will open up a nice help document with some examples here. So just read this out. It can also help you, or in future, let's say if you forget about it, if you're confused while you're creating it, this is a good help document to help choose them. But again, on a very nutshell, when you create it one time, later on if you're editing, nothing will happen. So this is, just keep in mind, if you have a scenario, then you don't either you're not allowed to edit the record or something like that, then this is good. If you want to make any changes, any field will change, you want to take an action, then this option is good. And if you only want an action to be taken if the criteria is, if not, is going from not meeting to meeting, then you need to take an action and evaluate, then this is probably the best option. So let's go ahead and make this option for now. We put the condition and then we can go next. Okay, so here, as I said, the first thing, you already put the condition, which is coming up over here. Now I need to take some action, right? So what are the actions? So add workflow action. So here you have two options. The first one is immediate workflow actions. Again, as I said, as soon as a condition met, if you want to take an action, go ahead and take it. The other option is time-dependent workflow actions, meaning that if you want to do the action after a certain time, so after a couple of hours, after a day, 2 day, 3 day, whatever. And here is another good example here. So this is really handy. So for example, immediate workflow actions, you want to send an email, notify account team stating that a new high value opportunity has been created. Okay. Another email alert, notify executive committee. Field update, change the probability to 20%, right? So if you're sending that, so some nice way of showing it off. And then outbound message, update the marketing system, right? So you can update the marketing system for that. Now you can also add the time dependent, and again, as I said, you don't need to have one or the other, you can have both of them. So here there are some time dependent action as well. So here you can have after 14 days before the opportunity close, there's a task which is assigned to opportunity owner should follow up with the customer. So before, as soon as there is normally an end date, close date. So before the 14 days before the close date, the task will be assigned to the user saying that please follow up, and you have 14 days to follow up and update the record. 7 days before the opportunity close, this is the 14 days action, this is 7-day action task. State sales manager should contact the account. Another, again, this is like another example. Field update, flag the executive involvement, right? Some other action items. So here, let's say, how would you create one? So here, let's say if you want to create an email, you can do that. Here we can do a simply field update. You can also use that. So here you can create the field update. So define the field update, including the object associated with the workflow rule, approval process, uh, entitlement process, the field to update, and the value to apply. Note that the field update may be not related to the object. Okay, so here first of all you can come up with the name. So let's say I'm gonna keep it simple. Price is greater than 500K. Unique name. And what is the field to update? So we have created a field here, and here there are three options: the value above, the current one below. So here we have a specific value, so we want to call that premium. Okay, any questions so far? And then we can save it. Okay, so this is one workflow we have created. We have taken one simple action, that there is a field, we want to update that. You can always add another field saying that email alert, and use an email that we have created for that. So very simple, you can create whatever you want. You can send to people that you want the email address. You can add some external email addresses as well. And then you can use the template that you have created. Remember, so we talked about a couple of templates that we have created. So whatever template you want to use, you can add that, and basically that's it. Right? So you have, we have taken two action items: one, sending an email, and sending and updating a field. All right, let's do done. And then, so one thing is very important. As soon as you come to this rule, you see that there's an active toggle here. So usually when you create it for the very first time, it will be off. By default, it will be off, so that you can make as many changes as you want. Now, if you need to make sure that this is active, then you can activate it. Okay, so now this is activate. Let's go ahead and test it out quickly. Go to a property, add a new property. Okay, so right now keep in mind that wherever that field is, I'm not changing anything. And you can always, for example, you can remove it from the update section, or read only, make it read only, whatever you want. Right now it's just a test purposes, so I'm not making any changes to this one, and save it. And see that this field, because I did not touch it, but automatically, because the condition is satisfied, 600,000, it is go ahead and basically convert to premium. So this is how you put basically you update a field. And maybe we might have also received an email. I'm not sure which email was associated, but yeah, I guess this one was the email. So you also received the email. I just use like a sample template that we have created, the welcome one, but you can see that that email also sends out. So basically you see that how it update the field and also send out an email. So this is called workflow rule. So again, going back to the workflow rule, what we did is we'll go straight to the workflow rules. We can review this one time. And then if you don't want to review it again, you can click on that. Next time it won't show up. I'll just keep it there, so that every time if I'm going through, I can show it to my students. So here you can, if you want to create a new one, you can see that if anything is active, that will give you an option for deactivate. So this is the one that we just created, and it is giving me an option to deactivate. Rest of the other two are not active. That's why they're saying, do you want to make it active? Also, you have a checkbox. So first of all, if you create a new workflow rule, need to make sure that it is working. And if it is not active, obviously it will not take any action. Let's go ahead and review them again. You can provide the name. You can provide the condition when the evaluation criteria will kick in, either when the record is created, or record created and every time it is edited, or created and anytime it is edited to meet the criteria, like in this case. So whatever, and you can add, just also keep in mind, you can add multiple other options. So you can add some address conditions, zip code conditions. So it can be as complex as you want. Again, as we are just going through a sample to understand the feature first, then you can make it as complicated as you want. So this is how you can do that. Then you can go ahead to the next step where you can take some action items. So this is again the rule details here, what we set it up, and then you have actually the action items here. So in the action items, as I explained, you have two types of actions. One is you can take it right away as we see, or you can also make a time dependent action items. I just want to show you quickly, if I may, how do they look like. So here, I just need to deactivate the rule if I'm making any changes. Let's edit that. Add a time trigger. So it's pretty straightforward. You can add like a number of days you want to do after one day or after multiple hours, whatever you want to do. And then you can choose it either after the rule trigger. So for example, as soon as the condition verifies or condition kicks in, or you can choose create date or last modified date. So you can choose whatever is feasible, and then you can save it. And then you can provide the action items, whatever you're looking for here. So same thing, you just first provide the times. Okay, after 10 hours, do this. Do what? Do either, as I said, either send out an email, update a field, send outbound message, or same four options are available here, like you have here. So here, there was no time setting up. So you see that this is immediate, so you don't need to set up. But here, first you set up the time, how many hours, how many days, and then after that the same process, but what you did for the immediate one, just set up whatever you want to either send out an email or multiple ones as well. Like in my case, I also send out an email and also update the field and also send out an another API message and also send another email. So you can do multiple. You're not restricted to a couple of actions. You can do multiple emails. You can send up. You can also change multiple fields. Whatever you want to do, basically you can do that, and same exact process will be repeated over here. All right, any questions? Very, very quiet class today. Not too many questions. Are you guys good with the workflow rules? Any question, anything which is not clear?
So I have a question,
Sure.
not too hard, it's easy.
Go ahead.
Question is like when you do when you make your rules, like come back to as a the see the first you put the price at the premium price like $500,000,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
something like that, okay? And then this shows the
Action item.
yes, need to change edit like the price is not going up, not too many people. The person you send it in that he is not giving answer stuff like you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to the change and suddenly you change the price and suddenly you're getting the other person, you send the email and he says accept it,
Mm-hmm.
the previous plan and the price,
Mm-hmm.
and you try to go to change, you change it already.
Yep.
So when you come back to you can do the edit at the price again, and
Yeah, you can edit as many times as you want, but then you need to change the the workflow rule or create like a subsequent workflow rules as well. So for example, you can create a workflow rule for something like, okay, property price between 0 and 500,001, and then you can create another workflow rule for 500 to 100, like $1 million, and then create anything a rule for $1 million more, and then you can add different conditions. So they all work in together. So let's say if the condition is satisfying with the workflow rule number 1, it will do whatever you are saying for the rule number 1. If the value is falling under workflow rule 2, which is 500 to 1000, let's say you have different set of actions, right?
Yeah.
For example, anybody who is buying a property between 0 to 500,000, I'm just making it up, and you said, okay, no discounts, right? So you can say that, just send an email, send that, hey, we have received your request, thank you for that, and then that's it, right? But the second one, if a property is between 500 to $1 million, you can also send an email like the one in the last workflow rule, but also you can add, you can get a discount for 10%, right? And then you can change, also do one more action, which is update the field, and the discounted price is now 10% less, right? And then the third one could be something else. So you can also not just create one workflow rule, but you can have different workflow rule for different conditions. And that's where I will actually go through another option today. If we get a chance, it's called uh, uh, business process builder, which is where you don't need to create separate workflow, but using the same way. It's exactly the same way workflow is working, but you can create different things in like one more sequential order. So instead of creating multiple workflow rules with different conditions, you can use the same process builder. It works very similarly like workflow, but it's a little bit more advanced. And in one flow, you can able to take multiple actions. If this has happened, do this. If this doesn't happen, do that. If this
Yeah,
happens,
that's what I mean. Like the different programming has a different as a workflow. Yeah, so you go to for or
yep,
for or you're gonna go. Yeah, if this option is working, it's okay.
exactly.
Otherwise, you can go to other options.
Exactly. So as I said, like workflow is more like the first line of action, where if it is very simple enough, you want to update something, you can use workflow. If it is a little bit more complicated, where you have multiple conditions, then I would say you can go to the second option, which is called um, process builder. Okay. And then if it is even more complicated and you think that it's not even process builder is not enough, then you probably need to go and write a code for that. So it all depends upon what kind of conditions you have. But again, as I said, you will always start up with something simple, which is, okay, can it be done with workflow? Okay, if it is simple enough, can be done with workflow, very good. Let's do it. If it is more complicated to workflow, or you need to create multiple workflows in order to achieve that, then how about look into a process builder? Okay, if process builder can do that, very good. That's your next step. And then you can achieve it via process builder. If it is even more complicated for process builder, or maybe you are hitting a limit that you need to do something which process builder is unable to do that, then obviously you have no other choice. Then you have to go ahead and ask support from a developer, and then developer can write a custom code for that and able to achieve what you're looking for. So you have to go like step by step. So you as a Salesforce consultant, evaluate that what is needed for this one, and what are the limitations. So there are obviously some limitations with workflow rules. If you want to make it really complicated, then obviously workflow rule is not the best one. You probably, as I said, jump directly to the next, and if that doesn't work, then the next option.
So as a beginner, like if you have, when I create a workflow, I can do all the criteria and make it same thing, like a simple, like I doesn't work like this. You go to other options.
Yes, you can.
You can
So
do that.
right now, let's say if you want to create multiple, you can create multiple workflow rules and provide the different conditions, define the different criterias, and you can use it like and or as you mentioned, and you can create different workflow rules for that.
Yeah. For example, if I got, yeah, I got you. You can do that. That's great. That's
Yep.
fine. I mean, there's
Yep,
things.
yeah, absolutely. You can do that. But the thing is that let's say if you're creating something that you're doing and you're creating like multiple workflow rules. So we will look into process builder also. So if it is has a lot of conditions, then process builder is even easier for that. And you don't need to create multiple workflow rules just with one process builder. You can able to do that. So if we get enough time today, we probably go through the process builder as well, and that probably answer a lot of your things. But again, as I said, it's not necessary that for everything you will jump to work to jump to process builder, because if it is simple enough, it has steps which is more suitable for. So let's say if you just send out an email, right, after a criteria, why would you use the process builder, right? So you can just create one workflow rule and that's good enough. Or if you need to update a field based on a certain condition, right? If you need to give a discount based on certain conditions, something like that, then obviously workflow rule is the better way to go. But if it is a little bit more complicated, more engaged, required a couple of extra steps, then you can start looking into the next item, which is
Next
business.
step.
Yeah. All right.
Got it. Thank
Good.
you.
Very good. Anything else, guys? Any other question? Okay. Again, you will get the all the information, so you can go through and create a couple of examples, especially the one that I have given. You can start from there, and then you can go to the next step. So, so we I'll take a break at 10:50. So in 2 minutes, I can just give you a quick introduction, and then we'll take a 10 minutes break and come back at 11. So the next stop is basically approval process. Approval process, as the name suggests, pretty straightforward, right? You need an approval either from your, mostly from your manager or from your higher authorities for something. For example, as I said, if the price is you want to give a, you can give discounts up to 8% if it is something more than that, or if you feel like customer needs more discount, otherwise you can lose the deal. Then you need, let's say they said, okay, if anything you need more than this, then you need to get an approval, right? So what you can do is you can initiate an approval process. The record will go to your manager, and then manager can review it. The manager will get email update. Manager will also get a notification in Salesforce that you have approval process waiting for your review. And then once he provide his approval or rejection, you can get back that information again. You can get a notification and you can take it from there. So approval process is used in different ways. You can also think about your vacation days. If you have just 1 or 2 vacation days, you can just apply or send an email and you can get it. But let's say if you need to go through an approval process, or if you need to go for your yearly you know uh, yearly uh, yearly vacations, which is like 3 weeks or something, or if you're going for your promotion, you need to send an approval process for that so that the promotion can kick off, and your organizations require first approval from your manager. If he's happy, he approves it, then you can go ahead. So you can send an approval process to him and he can review it and do that. So there are a lot of different examples for approval process. It is very, very widely used, especially like in cases and sales and marketing and all of these things, because you may need different type of approval processes from your managers. So a lot of times these systems are used by the sales engineers or customer support engineers, and they only have a limited amount of liberty that they can do. Anything above and beyond, you need to get approval from your manager. Same thing you might have heard. Let's say you are signing up, calling one of your cable networks. They can give you 2 channels for free, but you feel like, oh, this customer, we might lose him if we don't give him this third option. And then you need to just to get an approval, and you can provide the details about the case that you have working, that hey, this is our 10 years client, and if we don't give him, we might lose him. So I just needed your approval so that we can provide him this extra channel or whatever that is. And then once you get approval, you can go ahead and update the case. So some of these examples are important. So we'll go through the actual process, how you can set up the approval in next 9 minutes. All right, so we'll take a quick break and we'll get back at 11 Eastern. Okay. All right. So basically, as we discussed, we can learn about approval process. Before we go into the details, couple of steps just to understand how just a regular approval process work. So if you send an approval process, what are a couple of ingredients that you need to take care? Obviously, first of all, you need some sort of criteria, like what we discuss in workflow. Like if you're entering into a workflow, or whenever you're entering in any automation, you need to know what are the conditions, right? Do you need to test it all the time? Do you need to test on certain conditions? Things of that sort. So first of all, same thing for approval process. Obviously, when we go for approval process, there are some conditions where you are kind of authorized to take the action. So for example, a salesperson can be able to provide discounts under 5% based on his own determination. But if it is more than 5%, then he may need to get an approval, right? So that's a condition. So condition is, if the discounted price is more than 5%, then send a record for approval, right? Same thing is, if a property price is less than 500,000 or $1 million, you can work on it. But if it is more than a certain price, then you need an approval process first to work on that. So let's say if you're working on a real estate where the premium property obviously needs to handle with the care, make sure the best of their salespeople are working on that. So if you are trying to work on a property which is of a certain price point, then you need to first get approval, say, hey, can I work on that? But if the price point is lower than a certain number, then you can go ahead and pick it and work on it and assign the property for yourself and start working on it, right? So that could be another scenario. So first thing first is you need to know what is the criteria on where you need basically an approval process, because you do not need for everything that you are doing. Otherwise, you'll be just everything you will be done by your manager anyways, right? So you need a certain criteria where do you need approval, right? So you need to know that. A second thing is you need to identify who are those approvers, right? So in some cases, or actually in most cases, your immediate manager is your approver. Simple. In some cases, a little bit more complex scenario, you can have different people who needs to get approval. So for example, if you're working in a manufacturing plant, you need to get approval for a certain record type, where you need to say, hey, this item is ready for shipment, but you need an approval process from 3 different departments to make sure they all have supplied or completed their task. So in that case, it's not just your manager, or maybe it's not your manager at all. It's basically different departments. So you need to first of all kind of identify who those approvers are, so that when we are getting into the approval process, you already have these things figured out. So first thing you need to figure out is what is the condition. Second thing you need to figure out that who is that approver, and note down their name and stuff, because you need to know, you need to add them in your Salesforce system, right? What is their username? The next is identify any field values need to be updated and create those fields. So based upon the approval process, what do you need to do? What is your action item? Do you need to update a field? Do you need to send out an email? Same thing like what we discussed before. Do you just need to send out an email, or maybe you need to update a field or need to take some other action? So here, as an example, we are creating a new field called approval status. And these are a couple of things like pending. I don't think so. We need not. We just need like a pending status, approval, approved status, rejected status, and cancel, right? So we will create a simple, just create a approval status field, a pick list, and send and put these values: pending, approved, rejected, and canceled in those pick list value, and you're ready to go. So this is the field we will be updating based upon the different actions during the approval process. So as you know, approval process, first of all, when you submit a record for approval, it needs to be in pending. So if somebody else is looking at that record, they will see this field approval status and it will say pending, meaning, okay, this is still being considered. As soon as if they see approved, meaning, okay, this particular record or a list of records, all of these are already approved. If they see rejected, oh, this list, this record or list of all these records are rejected. Or if they need to just cancel for some reason, you can also cancel that. If you need to send out an email, you also need to make sure that that email template is ready. So again, at the start of our session, we started with the email template. So same thing, that first thing first is you need to make sure your email template is ready to go, and you just create the email template ahead of creating your approval process. So all of these things are required before you start making your approval, you start your approval process. Then you can go ahead and set up the approval process and define actions. Same thing, pretty much all of these automation have these two constant items. They are just configured in different ways, or maybe the application is different, but kind of a concept is the same. So you need some sort of approval process. What is the process? What is the criteria? And then what are the actions for that? And then actions are same thing, like in our case, as an example that we set up, in our case, what we are saying that in terms of action, we are updating a field. So the action could be you can submit, and then you can either get approval, or you can get rejection, or you can actually recall the request, right? And what we did based on that, we created, as you said, as you see over here, we created a field called approval status, and then we create these 4 field options, and then these options will be changing based upon the results which are happening. So approval process is basically nothing but a condition and then the action items. And these are the 4 action items that we have defined for our example. So any questions so far before we go into the example?
I just have one question.
Sure.
So this approval process is when you create an email template, it will be between the sender, that will be me, like the user who's creating this, and then the manager will be the recipient.
So, so what happened is, let's say if you create an email template, and you can basically decide who will receive it, right? So for example, when you are actually sending on a first stage, when you're sending the record for review, right, for approval, then the email will be directed to your manager.
Okay.
Okay, now when manager either approves or rejects, in that case the email will be directed to you, so that you know that okay, it is rejected or approved. In your email box it comes up, and then you can go into Salesforce and check it out, the status and details if possible. So we can set up multiple email templates, and all of these actions will have an you will see that there are options for each action. So for each action you can create a separate email, and then you can direct to the right person who needs to view that.
Okay.
Okay, very good. A good question. All right. So here, let's take an example. So here again, we have, what is our, let me go ahead and, okay, approval status is the field. And here are those four options, right? So what is the name of the field? Approval status, and the object name is Unboxx property. So probably this is from the previous class, so update that. Okay. So the object is an Unboxx property. We need to add a field called approval status, which is fine. And then a pick list values, which are pending, approved, rejected, cancel, pending, approved. Okay. So everything else looks good. So first step first is you go into your object, and then you create a new record, which is a pick list type. You name the object as approval status, and then you can provide these four pick list values, right? Pretty straightforward. Then you can go to setup and approval process. So let's go to setup, and we go to approval process. Okay, so here again, in terms of approval process, first thing first, if is you need to select the object that you are working for. So again, in this case, we can select the Unboxx property. So that is our first step, so select the object. So here, from object drop down, select your object, right? So first you already created the field, you created that, go to setup approval process, and then you subject the object that you need to create an approval process. So that's our first step. Next step is create a new approval process. And again, you have two different options. So here you can create a new process. Either you can create a jump start window, which is more like a easy, quick way. But again, because we are going through the process for the first time, so let's go for the standard one. But later on, once you know the process, you can also use the quick start wizard or jump start wizard, which is kind of a quick way to do that. But for now, we can just go with a standard way of creating an approval process. So approval process name, for example, here we can say that approval for okay. So we are creating process for properties approval, then 500,000, and the users are asking their managers that if they can work on this property, if they have a go ahead for working on these properties. So go ahead and click next. Now you need to specify the entry criteria. Again, we have discussed that entry criteria is, again, you can have many different type of criteria. You can put, like based on an example, you can also try and putting some zip code, asking price, maybe address, whatever you want. In this case, we can say asking price and greater than 500,000. Okay, so first of all, you provide the criteria. So then what is the entry criteria? If only certain types of records should enter into the approval process, enter that criteria below. So let's say if you do not provide any information, what does it mean? It means that any record you can send for approval. Okay, but then obviously it is unnecessary. Like for example, if the property which or for example the discount percentage or thing that you can already work, why would you even send that for approval, right? So if your manager will see like 10 requests, and out of those 8 requests are such that you can actually take an action yourself, then obviously he might not be happy, because you are pushing a lot of work for him, which is he don't need to even get approved for. So here but again, let's say you want to open it more flexible, and it could be discrete. It could be such that you don't know exact condition, and it is more like you can evaluate and see, yeah, this is something I probably need to take an approval. Then you can open it up as well. So either you can provide a condition, or you can open it up for every record to go for an approval process. Here is the next step, is specify approver field and record editability properties. So here you need to, that's the stage where, as I said, before you start this process, you need to make sure that you have an answer for all of these things, right? That what is the condition, who is your approver, what is you need to update in terms of fields, send out an email, create templates, all of that stuff you need to make sure you have done before that. And now you are ready to make the change. So here you already determined that in our case, our manager is the only person that needs to provide the approver. So very good. Here's some extra items. Use approver field for Unboxx property owner. You can use the available field for that, or you can create a new field. So we already created a field, so we don't need to use that. Admins can only edit the record. So what happened is, whenever you submit a record for approval, it will actually become locked. And that's where it is providing some flexibility. That do you want administrators are the only people who can edit the record during the approval process, or admins or the currently assigned approver can edit the record during the approval process? So if you select the second option, as the name states, that the person who is reviewing the record, he can able to also edit and make the changes. But if you don't want that, if you only want that only admin, obviously admin by default can able to change it, but this option is obviously as a default. But if you want that admin and the approvers can also able to make a change, then you can choose the second option. All right, so here email template. So I think somebody asked, can we send an email template? Here you can choose that, and this one will be sent out when you initiate that. So here you can send out, hey, please find, hey manager, and you can say the name, hey, first name, whatever the manager first name is. Hey, I would like to work on this property. This looks like 500,000 or more, but I'm a good candidate to work on this because, and then you can send out the template. So, you can set up a template, and then every time you're sending it based on the condition, you can use it. Or as I said, if it is something more unique every time, then you can, instead of setting up a template, then you can send like a manual email. But if it is more template wise, just sending, hey manager, I would like to work on this email, I need your approval, thank you, and then the name, then this is more of a template type, you can send it out. If it is more customized, then obviously you can send out a separate email via your regular email process. Because the template email is something that you need to have like a fixed value. Next step. So there are multiple steps. Again, this looks like a lot, but honestly speaking, it's pretty straightforward. Once you get the flow of it, then it will be pretty easy. But obviously there are multiple steps, so sometimes it looks very confusing, but trust me, it's not. Next step is select fields to display in the approval page layout. So when your manager will view it, you need to show him certain information so that he can make a quick decision, right? Instead of that, he can also go back to the record and view it and then come back to the approvals. Or what you can do is you can provide a quick view of the information right there. He can view it and then he can just make a decision, right? So what do you need? So let's say in this case, if you're showing the property number owner, it would be good to have the asking price. It would be good to have maximum offer. It would be good to see the discounted price, maybe type, subtype, right? Anything that you feel like it's good to view, you can add all that information so he can get like a good quick synopsis of the property information, and then he can make a decision that, yeah, that's fine, you can work on it, or maybe not. So here you can show them what he needs. Again, there are some more security setting, approval to access the approval page only from the within the Salesforce, or even outside he can view it. So you can even allow them to view it via mobile device outside the Salesforce, and he can able to get via email and then approve it on the email as well. So for now, we can keep it inside Salesforce. Next option, again, as you see, there are a lot of steps, but again, they're pretty straightforward, is specify initial submitter. So again, who can submit it, right? In my opinion, again, all your sales team will be submitting, or whoever is your different groups that need to submit, you can add here. So here you can even add by roles. So all the roles are here. You can add by different groups. If you have created different groups, you can add by them. You can also add by simply users. In our case, let's say we have 2 main users. We can add both the users here or the owner, whatever feels better. So you can use all the folks who should be able to apply for this approval process. Add submit for approval button. You can add that, allow submitters to recall. If you want to give them option that they can recall it, you can do that. In our case, let's say we don't want to give that option, go to the next stage. Okay, so this one we kind of set up the process. We haven't set up what will happen if it is approved, not approved, what will happen that. So that part is not done yet. So we just set up the initial like half part of it, where we set up who is the approver, what are the condition, and who will able to submit it, who will able to approve it. So we'll set up the whole thing. Now we are going to the next step, which is you have just created an approval process. So we created the process. However, you cannot activate this process until you define at least one approval step. Would you like to do that now? So he said you already set up the approval process, but you haven't defined the steps, the condition, what will happen, right? So here you have a couple of options. Yes, I would like to create approval step now. I would do it later. So you can even do it later, come back and add the steps, but we would like to do it now. So we can say, yes, I would like to add the approval step now. So here I can give the different steps. Again, as I said, you can have different step process as well. So this is our step one. In case if your approval process goes to different steps. So the first step could be manager. The second step could be your director, right? So that's how you can have different, you can also define different steps. So you can have different steps available, but here let's keep it simple. We can have just one single step for now. Second step is specify the step criteria. So now individual steps can also have their own criteria. So for example, if in our case, just an example, if the property is more than 500,000 and less than $1 million, then you just need like one approval and you can get out of it, right? In the second step, if the property is more than $1 million, then you can decide that I need 2 steps of approval, right? So here you can even define like a secondary step for this step as well. But in our case, we just said, okay, there's no specific criteria for that. We can just move forward. We already defined the initial criteria for getting into the approval process. All right, so here new approval step. So this approval step, now we are talking about the particular step. Who will, so here select the approver. So automatically assign it to, so there are different options. Let the submitter choose the approval manually, automatically assign the, using the user field selected earlier. So we already selected manager, you want to keep that. Automatically assign to the queue. You can set up a queue for that. So you can have different approvers over there. Remember, I also give you a scenario where you can have managers from 3 different departments, right? So in that case, if you choose this option, so this will go only to your immediate manager, but how would it go to those 3 different people? So in that case, as an admin, you can create a separate group for approver group, and then you can assign that approver group over here. So let's say there are 3 different members, they all get the email and they all get approval. And you can also have approver delegate. So in case your approver is on a PTO or a vacation, if you want to set up the delegate, you also have an option and automatically assign to approver. So you have different options. You can do that. We can keep the one which is for the manager. So let's go ahead and save that. And then again, as I said, is the multiple steps. You have just created an approval step. You can optionally specify workflow actions to occur upon approval or rejection of this step. Would you like to do that now? So now what you want to do, right? So here you can create, you can send out an email, field update, or outbound message. You want to create a new rejection. So this is like, I would like to create a new approval action. So if it is approved, what will happen? So instead of that, I will show you more discrete way. So I would like to set up different things. So let's go ahead and set up this process. So here you can, okay, so let me go back, just show you the full view so that it will easy to understand, and then we can add. So here, this is your complete process that we set it up, right, till here. Here, we also created one approval step, okay? Now, these are the different conditions that you need to update based upon what you want to do. If it is approved, so this is final approvals action. If you have approved, then what you want to do. If it is rejected, what you want to do. If it is recall, what you want to do. And then the first one, if once you submit, what you want to do, right? And these are all the conditions. So let's say once you submit, we already defined that that field that will go into status pending, right? So how you can do that? Very easy. You can add a new field update, and you can define here anything, or action one, just to keep it separate. Let's say action one. If it is in the first stage, I would like to, the field was approval status, and here I want to put the approval status as pending. Okay, this is the first step that we are taking when you submit the record for approval. So this field will, approval status will update saying pending. Okay, I can save it, come back here. So here we just defined the first step, which is initial submission action. Once you submit it, what will happen? It will take the first action, which is basically update the field saying that the record is pending. Now it is still with the approval, and then approval means approval steps. This we already defined that there's only one step, so that's fine. After that, if you want to add more step, like here we did not add any action. So if you want to add action saying a separate email, then you can show action, and you can here you can start adding, send an email, something like that. You can do that. But for now, just keep it simple so you don't get confused. So here we just define this step, and that's it. We don't take any action for now. Then if it is approved, what will happen? Again, as we said, we will update a field, same field. We just gonna say this time is approved, right? So action two, same thing, go to approval status, field, this is a field name, and this time we are saying that this is approved. Okay. All right, so this is final approval. Action two says the update the field to approved, because if it is approved. If it is not approved but reject, what we need to do? Same thing, same field update, but this time we need to reject it. Anybody is any questions, any confusion? I know there are a couple of steps which happens. It's just you need to go through these steps by yourself, and then it make a little bit more sense. I know it might be looking a little bit more overwhelming because of the number of steps, but trust me, once you go through it, it won't be as complicated as it looks like. Last but not least is the fourth action item. Save it. Okay. So again, a quick recap what we did. First, we set up the approval process. Here we defined who is the approver, who is the approvee, who can submit it, what is the condition for initial submissions, things of that sort. Then we defined the steps. Okay, there's only one step in our case, and that's it. Then we come back in this view. This view comes back, and then here we said, okay, if you initially submit, what will happen? So along with this field update, you can also send an email alert as well, right? So you can add send an email for alerting approval request, right? And then you can add your email template. Again, I haven't created a new email template for that, so I'm just going to use the one that I have. But you can send the email, who can be recipients, you can properly add the recipients, and then save it, and that's how you can able to send an email. So every step of the process, you can also send an email as well, log the record, and take the action where it will update the field at initial submission and it is pending. Steps you already defined. Then we go for the what will happen if it is approved, rejected, or recall. Approved, we said updated to approved field. Rejected, update the field to rejected. Recall, update field to the recall or cancel. And then once everything looks good, it won't do anything till you basically activate this process. So let me go ahead and quickly activate it, and then we'll come back and review it once we can see how it is working. So it is now activated. If I go to my approval process, there's one approval process which we just created under the activated approval process. Everything else is just inactive. So don't need to worry about that, but this is the process that we activated. Now, how can I review it? I need to go to my second user. because I need to get approval from the second user to the main user. So I'm going to log in as my second user. I can go to one of the properties. And again, this property is higher than 500,000. So this should be a good candidate. I can go ahead, and if you go to the next, there's an option for submit for approval. Go ahead and do that. In the comment section, I said, okay, and I can submit it. So now what will happen is this request, this record will go to my manager, my immediate manager for approval. So in this case, I put obviously my second user admin as a manager. So if I goes over here, here you go. You can see that this is called a notification, like you always see in your social media as well. When somebody comment on your thing, or some email is waiting, you can get a notification. So I got a notification as a manager, and I see that test user is requesting approval for Unboxx property. Okay, you see that how it has come up. So okay, let's go ahead and review it. I click on that, and this is the view that I can get this approval. This record is waiting for approval. You can see that where is the field? So if I go back to the field here, it is updated as a pending. Okay, you see that this field is pending for me who submitted, but as a manager, I can see this view where I added multiple fields like number, price, discounted, type, all that good stuff. So I can review it. I also can see the comment that is added. So you can manually add whatever comment you want, so that you can provide the details. Why do you want to work on that, or special circumstances or whatever. And then I also see these three different options, like either I can approve it, reject it, or reassign it to somebody else for approval. Let's say I want to approve it, and says, I can also update with the comment. And then you can see that the status is right away updated as approved. So this is the default approved, but we also have a field here, so we can go back to our field here. So right now it is pending. Let me refresh it, and it is refreshed to approve. So see, you see that how we can able to get an approval, and we are actually updating a field. By default, there is also on this record, you can able to see this approval status, which you can use, but here we actually use like a field in order to change the status. So this is how we use like a combination of our two users. So we use this second user. So if I go back here, you can see that approval request for Unboxx is approved. So you can also see that it will not only send the update notification to the manager, but also to the approver, how you can get it. So basically, there are a couple of steps that you can set it up. Once you set it up, and let me show you one extra thing. Try to submit for, let me see. Okay, so see this error message comes up. Anybody can tell me why this error message comes up?
Because the approval process was only for 500 and more.
Excellent, very good. So you see that this particular property is less than 500,000. So we have initially provided a condition that the approval process is only for properties more than 500,000. So if I have a property, and let's say I don't remember, oh, what was the condition? I'm kind of new to the team. I said, oh, maybe I need an approval. I can send it out. I say whatever, but it will actually take care by the system, because it will say, hey, this record do not even need an approval, right? So this is how, again, this is just an example, but you can think about a lot of different kind of approvals. You need to make sure that if it is going for approval, it is all satisfying the conditions. So system will actually kind of help all these users drive the process, make sure that you are providing the right conditions, you are providing the right email templates, you are providing notifications. So again, there are two things. One is you're getting these notifications, but we can also consider that a lot of times executives or managers, they might not be on Salesforce, because Salesforce you need to log in and see that all the time. They might not be working on Salesforce all the time, right? But let's say sales team, obviously they are, most of the sales and service team are working Salesforce from day start to day end, because all of their records are there, all of their contacts are there, they're making calls through Salesforce, they're updating the records. So this is their, basically Salesforce is normally their workstation. They log in into the Salesforce from the day when they start, and then by the end of the day, they're continuously working on that. But probably not the same conditions for managers or executive. They may look into Salesforce time to time, maybe when they need to see some particular record, or maybe when they need to see some dashboards, or see some reports or something like that, right? So what will happen is, if they are not logged in, obviously they do not see this notification. So that's why we have that email template also available. So at every point in time, every step, whenever we are sending, we can also make sure in most cases that we can also send out an email to the users who we are assigning the record. So for example, if he's on his phone and he's not logged into the Salesforce, but usually everybody is checking their work email, as soon as that email comes up, hey, you have a new record available for approval. So you can also, remember, there was an option, you can even allow them using their mobile device to get approval. So you can even say approve and then send, respond to that email, and then the record will get approved. So you can even use external devices for approval, or at minimum they can just say, oh, I got a record. They can quickly log into Salesforce, review it, approve it, do whatever they need to do. So that in that case, you're constantly kind of educating your users, you're educating your approvers that what records you can approve. Even if they're doing it by mistake, you put conditions which will avoid unnecessary records to send for approval for managers, because again, that will not require any approval. So you need to make sure that happens. And also, when you send something for approval, you can also set up processes that if the approval is not received in 12 hours, like using the workflow rule or something else, where you can say that if the approval is not, send another email as a reminder, right? Send another, you can set up a time-based rule or something like that. So basically, once you able to understand all these independent features, then you can start thinking about like a big picture, how you can start using a lot of these things like workflow, email templates, process builder, approval processes, in a way that you can create like a nice flow for your organization. And then as a Salesforce consultant, you can say, okay, this is okay. You can take into consideration about the existing process. You can put that process on Salesforce and say, hey, this is how the sales process will work when you automate it. If everything looks good, so you can show like a system design. Normally the way it works is you have first session of the requirement, where all your team with all the product owner and from the client side, different team members from different departments will all take into sit together, go through all the requirements. This is the first step of the requirement session. You understand, you go through the journey, how different processes goes through, you make notes, and then you take your time, you go back. Once you have your all the requirement available to you, then you go back, then you sit with your system architect, you sit with your solution architect, you sit rest of the team, they all sit in closed room. And then let's say if it takes like a couple of days to come up with the solution, they come up with a very detailed solution saying that, okay, this is how the process works. You will need like 10 workflows, you need like 5 business processes, you need to make a couple of visual force pages, blah blah blah. All that process will be sketched out. Then you go back to your client, show them, hey, this is what we come up with the solution, let us know how it looks. And then you walk through the complete solution. If everything good, maybe they might give you a couple of recommendations, couple of updates, you go back, update it. And then once you get the sign off on your design, then you basically start working on, okay, I need to create these workflow rules, I need to create these business processes, email templates, fields, objects, all that good stuff. And then let's say if you're working in a sprint environment, then at the end of the first sprint, let's say you just able to create the data block. Then you show the customer, hey, this is how your data block work, these are your fields, this is this. In the next 2 weeks, then let's say you created another 2 processes, and then you give a demo, you show them this is how it is working, and then this is how you progress in the Salesforce project. So let's say if it is like a 3-month project, at the end of the 3rd month, when all of these features that you need to develop on an increment basis of 2 weeks, which is like a sprint process, then at the end of your final sprint, you have pretty much everything done, and then you go for like a big bang full demo. Hey, this is how your whole process works. If everything goes well, you got to sign off. Maybe you might need to go back and tweak some things, but if everything works well, then they said, okay, everything looks good. Then you actually start doing some quick trainings, and then you have users who will be utilizing the system, and you will start the UAT testing. You go through with their users how to use it, test it, and once they give a thumbs up, yeah, everything looks good, we are comfortable, everything is fine, they might come back with some small bugs or issues or some updates. You fix everything, and then once everything is good, then you go for a big bang deployment. So then you deploy the whole system, have it ready, and then you can provide some post deployment support, and then for a week or 2 weeks or 1 month, whatever your contract says, and after that they're good to go. Now they may have internal admin, so basically you will set up a separate training for admin, and then go through all of these things with their admin, educate them, hey, we have created these flows, these template, this so he understand what is being created, and then basically you hand it over the project to your client, and then basically you walk away, and then that's how you normally complete a project in a consulting setup. And then the rest of the day-to-day task and anything like a minor upgrades and things like that will be managed by their own admin, by the client admin. Unless you also have the contract for the maintenance, then you can continuously working with the client, and maybe one or two, maybe one admin or BA will be assigned to that project. But otherwise, if it is like you hand it over the project, they have their own internal admin, then he will take on the project from that point onwards, and then basically you will walk away as a consulting team, as a success project, and then you're good to go. So this is like just to give you a little bit picture beyond what you see right now, that how does it all come together. So this is how it all come together, from the requirement session to the final delivery to the post deployment process. This is how a couple of steps goes, which is very typical in like a software development cycle. So even if you are working through different other tools or AWS or like a custom development through Java or Python or something, most of these goes in the similar hierarchy. And some of these are called agile scrum. So there are different processes. So if you're getting into Salesforce, if you have IT background, then I would also recommend that you can go for some of these certifications, which are actually which will guide you through the process. So right now, the course that you're working, this is more of a technical course, how you can use Salesforce, right? How you can edit, how you can configure. But what is this whole process is, how does agile work? What does it even agile mean? Maybe some of you might be hearing agile for the very first time. This is a process how you can build a software development, right? So how you build a bridge is a different process, and there are two main methodologies. Again, I don't want to get into the details. That's a topic for a separate discussion. But there's like if you're going like a building a bridge, that is more like a waterfall methodology, which has a different type of flow. And then the software development, usually what happens in software, because you don't know everything upfront, and you don't know what challenges you will face, so you will basically construct your software in like small pieces. So if you need to have like 10 different features, you will say that, okay, every month I'm gonna release one feature, and you can actually release it to the users. So not necessarily you will keep everything and do one big bang deployment. In more realistic agile methodology, every month you complete one feature and you release it to your actual customers, and they can start using it in real time. And then you are working on the second feature. Now you have two features, you release the second feature, now the users have two features they're working using in the real environment. Then you go for the third one. So in that way, the user are actually start using the features while the whole software is being developed. But in some cases, let's say you said, okay, you know what, we need to have like 5 features before we really give it to the customer. That's fine too. You can develop 5 features, everything looks good, you deploy it, available in the production, actual users start using it, while you can develop rest of the 5 features and then add them one by one every month, every 2 sprints or whatever. So the reason for bringing this up is, if you need, if you are really invested in Salesforce, want to go to the next step, then probably once you have your Salesforce certifications, and keep in mind that Salesforce One Admin certification is the entry level. So if you really want to go beyond that, I would recommend a couple of other certifications within Salesforce. So Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, they are really good to have. If you are going towards nonprofits, and NPSP is a really good one. So I would say you can not just target for one certification, but at least 2 to 3 certifications as a base. And then in parallel, you can also target a couple of Agile Scrum certification or SAFe certifications as well. So I also basically working with another partner of mine who is more into Agile side, and they provide Agile certification Scrum. He's a PhD with, I think he has more than 30 certifications. He's actual a mentor. So we also kind of are collaborating on some of my students who are done, have certifications, to take their course. Actually, one of his Agile course started today. Most of them are pretty short courses, 2 days, full day, 2 courses. So if any of you are interested in future, you can send me an email. I can provide some more details, and you can get like a Scrum Agile or a Scrum certified Scrum Master, or not, Scrum Master, some sort of that thing. And then you can get also product owner, or project manager certifications in Agile. So Scrum Agile is very, very helpful. It will give you some more dynamics to what you're learning. So just to add those things, and again, there are a lot of people available outside. You can get from anybody, for that matter. But we have some really, really discounted prices, which I don't think so you can get anywhere out there. So if you're interested, let me know. And not something you need to do right away, but as soon as you have your Salesforce certification ready, then that is something that is definitely going to help your resume to look good. And also, some of these are also part of your interview questions, because when you're building the software, you're building in a certain environment with a certain process. And if you know that process well enough, then obviously you can perform much better in your interviews. All right. Any questions for approval process, or anything else that I talked about Agile, or anything that I can quickly answer? Very quiet audience today, I must say. Okay, I have a couple of questions. Let me go ahead and then. Oh, okay. So Mansoor said, okay. So you have a couple of questions. So I'm reading your mind. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Okay, so Mansoor answered the questions, at least answered. Anybody else has any question regarding approval process? Any steps that you think is confusing? So just a quick recap for the approval process is basically any approval process has 2 main components, right? So what are those main components? First is you set up the conditions, and you set up all of those initial requirements, like who will approve it, who is eligible for sending for approvals. If you need to set up an email template, which is more generic one, you can send it out. You can attach it. You can also add all the conditions that, not conditions, I'm sorry. You can add all the fields that you want to show. The one that I displayed, that, okay, manager, when they see, he don't need to go to the record, right? Because again, if he's going to the record, coming back, and if he needs to approve like 10, 15, 20 records, that's a lot of work, right? So you need to provide him upfront all the information that he needs for approval, so that right there he can review everything and then click, okay, approval, reject. Otherwise, if all the information is not there, he actually need to go back to the record and then view it and then come back and then approve it, right? So this is where you set up all the, I think there's 6 steps. So in the first 6 steps, you set up all the submitters, you set up all approvers, all of that good stuff. And then in the next step, like the next big step, you set up all the action items, right? So the base action items is, as soon as you submit, you put it up for pending. And then you can also define different steps. Again, we have decided to go with the basic step, one person approving it, and that's it. But if you have different layers of approvals, so first you need an approval from managers, then you need approval from your director, then you need approval from VP, then you can create multiple steps as well. And then on each step, you can define different criterias. And then for each of them, these are your final approval actions. So once you get approval from all of them or some of them, so you can have two conditions. Either if any one of them approve, okay, that's good, you can walk out of that, and then you can take the final action. If you need all of them to approve it, then you can choose that option either as well. And then you can define here what are the action items. In the action items, as we said, you can have different action items that you can take. That for one is you can take and send an email. Second, you can update a particular field. Third is you can send an outbound message. Outbound message, again, this is not probably something that you can learn, is a little bit more advanced, where you have connected your Salesforce system with an outside API, outside system via API. You can send and updating a field in an outside system out of the Salesforce, but you can do that. You can, and then you can set up for rejection and then recall, and that's it. Make sure that once you're complete with whole thing, make sure to activate it, otherwise it won't be activated. If you're not working with something, then you can also push them to deactivate, and any process which is not activated will come under the inactive, and then you can always activate them later after testing and making sure everything looks good. So this is like a quick summary of the approval process. Any question before we move to the next topic? We have another 12 minutes, so maybe I can touch upon another quick feature, which should be good in 10 minutes. All right, so let's complete this one, which is also a very quick process. Again, this assignment rule is good in a very, very basic circumstances. If you have a lot of conditions, and again, there are some caveat to that, I will show you what it is. But in some basic setup, you can use it. But normally, I have seen that for more advanced organizations, we actually do some customization to make it a little bit better. By default, the way it works, I'll show you. And as I said, it's very basic. We might need to do some extra customization to make it a little bit more useful, but I'll show you how does it look in its raw condition. So it's called approval. It's called assignment rules, and there are two types of assignment rules. There is a lead assignment rule, and there is a case assignment. Again, as I said, hopefully I will get some time in the next session to go and walk through the sales process. That's where you have these leads and contacts and accounts and cases comes up. But basically, lead is a person who is maybe interested in buying your product, right? So you have lead, and then if he's more interested, you want to go and basically show him what the value, send him some price, and set up a couple of meetings, send him some price quotes and stuff. Then you convert that into an opportunity. In the opportunity, you say, hey, this person is ready to buy our 10 laptops, right? And then you have the contact. So the record is created in a contact, which will provide the name of the person, email, phone number, whatever. And then the account. So for example, if somebody reach you out from XYZ company, you know that, oh, XYZ company, this person is interested in buying 10 laptops, right? So this, the first time when he is kind of inquiring about, or you feel like this is a lead, maybe I can contact him, maybe they might be interested in our product or services, that is defined as a lead. So why do you need the lead assignment is because, let's say you have a sales team and you have every day, your marketing team is generating 1,000 leads or 1,000 too much, let's say 100 leads, right? And you have 10 people working in your sales team. So every person needs to get 10 fields assigned, right? So how do you assign your leads? Again, the marketing team, let's say every day they throw out 100 leads. Now the next step is either your manager will go and say, hey, this first 10 will go for the sales person 1, 2, 3, or you can assign these lead assignment rules, and based on, again, certain conditions or whatever that is, you can basically start assigning automatically to your different team members, right? Same thing with the case. Case is something which is used in a service cloud, and case is something like you have some complaint, right? You buy a product, you have some defect, you want to return or whatever, you normally go to the website and say, I want to return, and you open up a case. Basically for them, for the company, it will come up as a case, and then you can see that, okay, let's say every day you are receiving 100 cases, and you have a support team. Again, same thing, based on a certain criteria, you can assign, okay, these cases will go to, custom support 1 or team 1, team 2, or whatever you want to decide it. So it's pretty easy, very straightforward, as at least the default one. So we can go through the lead assignment, case assignment rules work exactly the same. So first of all, you need to just make sure that you understand where is this lead. So if you go to the Sales Cloud, I just want to quickly show you the object itself. So if you go to the Sales Cloud, and you will see this lead object over here, right? So if you go to the lead, and if you go to list all the leads, so all the open leads will be here. Again, you will also see some of them by default, and then you can create your own leads as well, right? So I can go ahead and show you how this lead assignment rule works, and then same way you can see that the case assignment rule work in the same way. So lead assignment rule, go here. I want to create a new lead assignment rule. It's pretty straightforward. I want to give assign to assign for 201 20165. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to assign the properties with the zip code 20165 to my test user. That's it. That's my case. I want to make it active. Go ahead next. And where should I put the conditions? I can put the conditions over here. Okay, what is the rule entries? I want to add the rule entries here. Okay, what is the sort order? So you can have multiple conditions, also multiple zip code is this, countries or country is this, city is this, zip code is this, price is this. So you can have define all the sort order. So in our case, let's start with something very basic. We can say the lead lead zip code, right? That's what I'm looking for. So lead zip code, if it is equal to 20165, then assign it. This is a step, select the user or a queue to assign. Again, same thing. You can either assign it to the individual user or a queue. And again, I defined queue many times. This queue is something like a group of users. And if you put it on a queue, then anybody in that queue who is a member of that queue, they can all able to see it, and one of them can pick up and assign it to themselves, right? In our case, we can go ahead and assign it to a test user, and then just save it. And that's pretty much it, right? So let's see how does it work. Just make sure it is active, which I activate upfront. So now I can go back to my leads, and let's go ahead and create a new lead. So because I'm logged in as my admin, which is KLE, so let's say if I try to add a new lead here, let's say I'm going to call it test lead company test. And here in the address, I don't want to give any zip code for now. Okay, so let's say no zip code, and then I want to create, and then there is also this is the caveat where you need to click on the assign using active assignment rules. So this we can remove it by using like a quick trigger, and then we don't need it. Again, the trigger is more like a next level or for developer purposes, but again, I obviously this part I don't like it because you can miss it a lot of times. So, but you need to click it in order for you to take the assignment rules into activation. Right now, this activation rule says 20165 assign it to somebody, but I don't use it, so I don't need to assign this. I can see what happens. So once I create the record, if I go to the details, you see the lead owner is KLE, right? I created the record and it is assigned to me. I'm the owner. Now, let's say I want to edit this record, or if I created a new record in that case, and the zip code is 20165, and I'm still using the same user, right? I'm still KLE. And then this time I said assign it using the assignment rule, right? So that it won't assign to me, but for the right user. So here, oh, it doesn't change. Okay, it doesn't change. So let's see what happens. So this is there. The address is there. Let me add in. Assignment rule. Save. Oh, okay, so I need to go back and check my rule. There's something wrong. So I can go ahead and check it. So here equals to 20165, user, test user. Looks fine to me.
Your zip code here is 21065.
Oh, here you go. Sorry. Thanks. So I was like, I did everything right. What did, okay. So I put it a wrong. 20165 is the one that I need to do that. So let's do 20165 here. Let's do it again. Thank you. So 20165 here. Okay. So here 20165 and then same thing. And let's see what happens. Here you go. So this time also I update this record as KLE, but because I use the lead assignment rules, this lead is now assigned to another user based upon this rule, right? So obviously I did a mistake of writing a wrong email, wrong zip code, but if you have everything right, then it should work, right? So same thing will happen again. As you see, I could have done a lot of time mistakes because it's basically constant steps, right? And anytime you're making mistakes, you might have missed something like I did, right? So it's a very normal thing. You need to go back and check it step by step. It could be something, maybe the value is incorrect, or maybe in some cases you might have missed a step, and in some cases it could be like a wrong logic, right? So it could be many cases, but this is how you kind of go back and troubleshoot, try to find what you have done, and then like retrack your steps. And this one, for example, I have used the assignment rule. So this specific record, when it is created, and if the zip code is there, if it is, you have, or by default you have checked that assignment rule, then it will be assigned to a user. Now again, as I said, because in this case you need to click on that, which is a manual click, so I don't really like this one. But again, it is good to know how this is working, because then in the future, once you go forward, you learn about more like a triggers and stuff, you can just create like a simple trigger which will kind of reassign that. But the logic is same. Either you can use this configuration, or you can use it anything else which is more customized. Okay, now there is another question. I have another question can answer. Then what else offers a trainer, consultant, mentor, whatever? Okay, so yeah, that I can maybe assign it later on. You put wrong. Okay, thank you. So zip code was wrong, so that's why you don't see it. To set up zip codes to assign, need to do separately. No, so if you have multiple zip codes, you can just create, like when we were creating it, you can have different lines, so you can create different zip codes. Equal to or contain, and then you can have comma, 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 and you can add multiple zip codes. So you can do either way. You can have either, if it is different conditions, then you can add different conditions, or you can add different zip codes in the same one. So either way will work fine. All right, so this is pretty much for our session today. Let me stop the recording here.